When we bring clients in for site visits of the city, that's always one of the highlights. With it being such a tourist destination, they're really surprised, pleasantly surprised by the quality of the cooking as well.
The Big Texan is more than a restaurant. It's an Amarillo icon, a world-famous destination scrapped together by a man who just wouldn't give up. Bob Lee.
He was such a Yankee, he really didn't know the first thing about being cowboy, but it was like anybody else that comes to the Texas Panhandle or Amarillo. It's what you'd want to see when you come to the Texas Panhandle.
His philosophy was to age that beef and get that tenderness and get those amniotic breakdown of the muscle tissue so that it's a very tender, flavorful steak.
The cold wind blows in with a warm serving of nostalgia. Bob Lee's first restaurant was at the old English Field.
And the waitresses came back in the kitchen and they said, Ringo's out in the dining room. And went out there and saw Ringo sitting there having a piece of pie and a cup of coffee, and I saw all the rings on his fingers, so it was true.
The first Big Texan was on Amarillo Boulevard, naturally, Route 66. It's now Chuck's Mobile Home and RV Supply. Don Logan greets Bobby and Danny Lee as they stop in for a visit.
And it had a counter right here that had ice, crushed ice in it, and all the steaks were on display. And then behind it was that sign right there that showed all the 72-ounce steak winners.
Back in the day, they used to have cowboys that would sit out here on horses and wave at customers as they went by to try to get them into the business.
When I-40 was built, businesses on Route 66 were devastated. Lee bought land on I-40. But times were tough until he caught a break with some lumber out at the old Pantex Village.
He was in such financial hardship that we were in Denver working at another job with him. I remember the day that my mom called and said that they accepted the bid on these barracks out here.
We were gone the next morning.
Yeah, 8 hours later we were loaded up coming back to Amarillo, and he stopped at the hardware store and got a bunch of crowbars and hammers and
gloves.
Yeah, and stopped by the day labor. I remember he couldn't even pay for those. He traded them out in meals.
And those meals evolved into the 72-ounce steak when Bob Lee saw the value of keeping the business of stockyard cowboys.
So he told those guys, you come back this Friday and we're going to eat 1-pound steaks, and whoever eats the most is going to get their meal for free.
And all of a sudden here comes these cowboys from the stockyards, and they'd sit out there and do something silly, and it would get over. It'd be magical, and the tourists would just applaud and just love the thing.
So with such a rich history behind them, is it time for a change?
We're at the crossroads. We're considering some major expansion here in Amarillo.
Larry Lemmons, Pronews 7.